What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a legend guide on Gibraltar. So let's just dive straight into it because I don't want to waste too much time. This month's giveaway, the March giveaway, is Dirt 3, the awesome racing game on Steam. So if you want to enter, make sure to subscribe to the channel, smash that like button and click the link in the description below. Also make sure to click in the comment section and drop your opinion on the video. The link in the description and the comments allows you to enter the giveaway. So basically Gibraltar is a defensive character that's super useful. He's not only just beneficial for himself when you're playing solo, but he's got one of the most beneficial kits for your whole squad. Gibraltar has some of the most useful kit, however he has a big downside. All characters do run at the same speed, so don't be misled as Gibraltar's animations may appear slower, but he runs at the same speed as all legends. A lot of new players and a lot of players who don't really look into the stats of legends, they all think just because he's fat and he has larger hitboxes, he's going to be a lot slower than other characters, especially because his animations look like he's moving and striding at a slower pace. But don't be fooled, because everybody moves at the same pace in this game, something which I actually didn't know at the start of the game. A lot of new players will think Gibraltar is slower, and since he's a bigger target, most of the time you'll be the first person to be focused. Kinda strange that we're looking into the downsides first, then the upsides, but that's basically the reality of playing Gibraltar. He has the largest hitboxes in the game. Remember, all characters don't have the same hitboxes, they're based on character size, and Gibraltar is the largest, so it's a lot easier for him to be hit. That's why a lot of people do play Wraith, because she's the smallest and she has the smallest hitboxes, which is why most people tend to play her. Alternatively, why not many people do actually appreciate or play Gibraltar. Now, Gibraltar's passive is a shield which soaks 100 damage. This is kind of to balance the fact that he's the largest character and he's the easiest to hit. Upon aiming down the sights, Gibraltar gets the option to toggle his shield. This shield is really useful. Now I'm going to go into why it's actually useful and why you should be using it. It's useful because people will focus your body mostly, although be careful about this because the shield only protects your chest and not your legs or head. But luckily most people will be aiming for the torso, since heads are harder to hit and leg shots do a lot less damage. It's super useful at the start of a game when people have poor loot and you can block shots. This is great, especially when people have light ammo weapons like pistols or even Mozambique shotguns for an example, because they don't do much damage anyway, and coupled with the fact that you can soak up 100 damage on your shield, it's going to be near impossible to kill you unless they're hitting only your heads. Remember, ADS firing close range or using a shotgun without sights can be a little bit more risky when playing Gibraltar. This is mainly coupled with the fact that without sights it will mean you cannot activate your shield, because like we mentioned before, you can only activate the shield when you're aiming down sights. So you kind of need to think about when's the best time to play defensively with your shield and when's the best time to rush offensively with something like a Peacekeeper for an example, or spraying hip fire with an SMG. Both playstyles can be beneficial, but just remember that you're going to take damage if you don't have your shield up. Another downside is the fact that the shield highlights itself at a distance in blue due to its glow, so toggling it off can be useful to not get spotted. This is especially something that comes into effect when you're sniping, because if you're in a sniper war, you don't want to be spotted behind cover, so toggling your shield can be a better option, especially since you can actually toggle your shield when sniping. Now the Q ability for Gibraltar is one of the most beneficial abilities for your team in the whole of Apex Legends, and I'm going to get into why, because it's just so useful. It's a half sphere shield. A lot of people get confused that it's a full sphere, so depending where you drop it, it might not cover all of the ground. It protects your teammates from literally all oncoming damage, so it's super useful. It has a 5 meter radius which lasts for 15 seconds and it's got a 10-second cooldown. So it has a pretty slim cooldown and it's pretty easy to place it down a lot as and when you need it, and as long as you don't waste it, it's literally always going to be up. Now it can be used in many different ways. It's extremely useful to block damage, especially from caustic traps. For an example, if you're inside the tunnel, which is the bunker, you're not going to take any damage from caustic traps if you quickly throw it down, because caustic gas can't leak inside the shield. This is especially great if you're trapped inside a room with caustic gas bombs, which is extremely common, your teammates can stay inside the shield and kick down the door and get out of there. This is a really good defensive way to not die to the caustic bombs. But remember, it does have a small duration, so you need to get this into effect quickly or you're going to start taking damage. It can also block bombardment from enemy abilities, more importantly an enemy Gibraltar using their ultimate or a Bangalore ultimate, which is the missile rockets. This is one of the things that you really want to be using the shield for, especially because these bombs are really going to hurt if you happen to still be in the middle of them when they do go off, although it does take 8 seconds for Bangalore's bombs to detonate. It's super important to use the shield in the right scenario though. Don't think that it's just so overpowered and useful that you can throw it down anywhere, because like the bubble shield on Halo, literally any of the enemies can also step inside it as well. It only protects you from the outside, but once the enemies do step inside, it's fair game. So don't throw it down in the wrong position or you might be protecting the enemies as they enter. For an example, if you're split from a teammate and you throw the shield onto them and the enemies push inside, you shooting from outside the shield won't do any damage to the enemies either, so you're only benefiting the enemy squads. Also, if you have a Bangalore as a teammate with an offensive ability, you might be preventing them from doing damage if an enemy walks into your shield whilst their ultimate's in effect. Just think about these really small things when you're playing, because you can actually ruin your own game by trying to do good just because you're not thinking too hard into things. So there is kind of further mechanics you can think about when using these abilities. They're not as straight up as you think. Now the primary use of the shield is to cover your teammates when reviving. Now I mentioned in my last video about Lifeline that coupling the Gibraltar shield with Lifeline, who will have a 25% revive increase, is one of the best defensive support team compositions that you can use, especially since Lifeline has a one directional half shield when reviving. But she's still exposed from the backside, so if she's not against a wall when she's facing with a shield, it's also useful to throw down the Gibraltar shield so she has 360 degrees of defense when reviving. The ultimate is Bombardment, which is similar in aspect to Bangalore's explosive ultimate, like we touched on earlier when we were talking about using the shield to actually cover from the enemy's version of it. Although it's more offensive, but it's slightly weaker in damage to the Bangalore ultimate. It can be a smart move to drop this ability on enemies who are already downed, which may assist you in picking up kills or preventing them from being revived. It's a lot more useful to prevent them from getting revived though, because the damage output isn't as high as you'd think. But it's kind of useful to troll enemy teammates because they're not going to walk onto your ultimate to revive the teammate, especially if the teammate doesn't have long left to live. It can be a smart move to actually drop this ability on enemies who are already downed, because it may pick up these kills, but you need to be cautious about it. The ultimate causes a slowing effect and distorted vision, so it won't damage teammates, but it may actually make you slower and still distort the vision, so there's still a downside to it when walking through it. Not only can it be used offensively, but it can also be used defensively to protect yourself when enemies are pushing you from the zone. So for an example, if you're inside the zone and an enemy squad's shooting at you, you can throw down the ultimate on them, and this means they have to make a choice whether they want to take the damage from the zone, which is relatively quite small if you think about it, or if they want to go through your ultimate and take the damage from your bombs. It really depends which choice they want to make. Now, as a conclusion, I do think that Gibraltar is extremely underrated as a support character and an offensive character, because his kit's pretty good and he has one of the best defensive kits in the whole game. Although personally for me, I don't really tend to play him either, so I can understand why a lot of people may not favour him. He has a lot of downsides in comparison to his upsides, so he's an extremely balanced character. Sometimes some of his weaknesses just overbalance the positives of the character when making a choice whether to pick him or not. As a conclusion, I think he is a good character if you want a good defense and if you like playing support characters, but if you're more interested in playing offensive or risk takers, I wouldn't recommend playing him. Despite his hitboxes though, the majority of points on his legend are more positive than negative, and he can turn the tides of any fight if played right. I hope these tips do help you on playing Gibraltar, and if they do, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Check out the channel for other legend guides. We have a guide for literally every single legend, and as an update comes out, I make a brand new guide. Make sure to enter the giveaway. As long as you're subscribed, you have the chance to enter to win the racing game Dirt 3 this month on Steam. Click on the link in the description or comments to enter. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Damn, son. me, that's a sin. I won't tell attacker, punk, you better back up. Try and play the role